Welcome to Infiltrating the Left, and specifically in this case, the No Kings protest that is coming up on March 28th, 2026. And I'm really glad everyone's here today. I think we're going to have a fun time today. I think it's going to be a good presentation overall, and I'm really thrilled that you guys are interested in learning how to go undercover at leftist events so that we can gather intelligence from on the ground primary sources that no one else, to the best of my knowledge, is really looking for. And being able to create a network of people all over the country who are interested in going to these events to observe, to collect information, to collect propaganda, maybe even to interact with some of these leftist groups, maybe even to do long-term infiltration into the groups. We have many members of my community who are long-term infiltrating leftist groups around the country. They go to their meetings, they get all their emails, they pretend to be one of them all the time. And so that is a possibility as well. And if you're new to all this and you're like, Carlin, that sounds like a really scary idea, the No Kings protest coming up next week is actually the perfect place to start for new people who might be really nervous about doing this, might be overwhelmed about the idea of doing this, maybe never thought that you would ever go to a leftist event in your life, but now you realize that they're winning and we're losing. And it's time for everyone to chip in the way that they can. And so maybe you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone to do something like that. And that's really great. And if that is the case, this is probably the very best place to start. And we're going to talk about why as we make our way through the presentation. Now, if you signed up for this presentation, I'm going to assume you know who I am, but just in case someone is watching the recording of this later, I'm Carlin Borisenko. I'm a PhD in psychology, and specifically in industrial organizational psychology. And basically, for the past 5 years, I have been taking my psychological knowledge and my knowledge of how to analyze social systems. I've been taking that and applying it to the radical revolutionary far left in America to infiltrate their subcultures, really pick it apart, analyze the psychology of what they're doing, analyze the behaviors, be able to predict the behaviors of the group. I have archived thousands of hours of raw footage from primary sources on the far left, going inside their trainings. I've gone undercover at probably a dozen different far left and Antifa events over the last several years, like in multiple different cities all over the place. I've actually gone undercover with the left more than anyone else that I know of in America right now. And possibly there could be people who've done it more than me, but I keep looking around and I can't find anyone. And so this is not just coming from kind of a theoretical background. I'm going to be articulating information to you guys that I've learned going undercover at far left events over the years to help you do it safely, to help you do it effectively, to give you some guidance about what to expect. And listen, I didn't know any of this stuff when I first started. I was a psychologist. I was a corporate trainer before I got into this. I had never dreamed of going undercover with radical revolutionary groups. I never dreamed I would be at a 4-day socialism conference wearing a mask and a chest binder and having a secret non-binary identity. I never anticipated doing any of this, and I didn't actually have anyone to teach me how to do this. I had to do this all on the fly and learn as I went. And so it's one of those things where, is it difficult to go undercover with the left? Yes and no. It's a little bit of both. Because is it difficult to go to an event and just sit there and listen? It's not technically difficult, but it can be really psychologically and emotionally exhausting. It can be very different to be actually in their environment in person, much different than I think people think. And we'll talk about that a little bit on the presentation today. It's you are going in to a completely different world. And even if you think you understand that world from the outside, until you are in it, it is a completely different thing. And so I'm teaching you guys today from all the practical knowledge that I have, from the mistakes that I've made, from the things I've gotten right, from the things I've learned over time. And hopefully that will help you guys as you go undercover at the event. Now, I also just want to make sure people know I'm the founder of a company called Decode the Left, where we do far left analysis. And, I basically break down all this stuff so that people can understand what's going on and to provide accurate intelligence and predictions for what the left is going to do next. I'm pretty much one of the most accurate people in predicting their behaviors, like basically years or months ahead of time of when they do things. So if you're looking for that type of information, that is Decode the Left. I'm also the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called the Center for Left Wing Studies. Studies. The Center for Left Wing Studies is specifically a nonprofit intelligence archival organization where we are basically putting together a map of the modern activist left. And the reason I bring that up is the No Kings protest and the intelligence that I hope to gather with you guys as volunteers over the next week or so is going to be directly contributing to mapping the far left groups that are active based on the No Kings protest. And the No Kings protest is a perfect place to start because it has the potential to be one of the largest days of mass action in American history. Okay. So the organizers of the No Kings protest are expecting 9 million people to show up. That's about 2 million people more than the last No Kings protest. Will they get 9 million people? I don't know. But even if they get 7 million people, that's a whole lot of people. Even if they get 5 million people, that's a whole lot of people. These are extremely large protests that are attracting people in literally every single state of the country. And so everyone has an opportunity to be able to go to an event in your area. Now, some events may be larger than others. I would encourage you guys to try to target the biggest event you can near you. I would encourage you against going to a house party. I would encourage you instead to go to a big protest in a park or a big rally or a big march, something where there's going to attract a lot of people. Because the thing of it is about the No Kings protest is that we don't actually care as much about the No Kings event itself as we do the other people that are going to show up at the event. Because anytime you have a large scale event, a protest, a mass action, a march, whatever, you have the organizers of that thing. In this case, the organizers of the No Kings protest is an organization called Indivisible. Indivisible is a progressive organization. It is not a far left organization. They are going to be working with other partners like the 5051 group, which does actually tend to veer now more far left than Indivisible does. But there are many other partners as well that are official partners in the No Kings protest. The vast majority of those partners are going to be more progressive groups. However, what we're really interested in is which far left groups are going to show up at No Kings protests around the country to hand out propaganda, to do stickering, to hand out zines, to try to recruit people to their events, to try to, radicalize people who may just be new and maybe they're just like, oh my God, I just really don't like this war in Iran. And all of a sudden they're getting handed an Antifa flyer and they don't know they're talking to Antifa because Antifa does not say they are Antifa when they're handing you a flyer at these events, most of the time anyway. So it's one of those things where there will be many far left groups in cities all over the country that show up to these No Kings events and they're doing everything they can to distribute their propaganda. And that is what I am most interested in. Because although the progressive organizations do have the biggest audience in terms of they are able to bring out the most people, it is the far left activists that are driving a lot of the chaos and nonsense and protesting and anti-ICE stuff and direct actions and rapid response groups. All the chaotic things that are happening in our country right now are being driven by the radical revolutionary far left protesters and all the groups that are going to show up at this event to hand out their stuff. I want to know, what are their latest talking points? Which groups are active in your areas? What are their zines that they're handing out? What are their main propaganda talking points that they want people to know right now? What events are they having in your area? What organizations even exist in your area? What bookstores exist in your area? What other far left, collective groups might be there that you've never even heard of before, but all of a sudden you just got handed a zine or something when you were at these protests? That is what I'm interested in. Of course, we'll look at what the No Kings people are saying, but I'm not worried about the No Kings people. The No Kings people are non-violent protesters. They may be annoying, but they typically do not engage in violence and destruction, whereas the far left groups showing up at these protests are far more dangerous, and that's what we need to keep an eye on. And again, these events are going on all over the country, in Alaska and Hawaii too, even though I didn't include them on the map. And so pretty much everyone listening to this training will be able to find an event near you. I again encourage you to find the bigger ones because the bigger ones have a larger chance of far left groups coming out to them and things like that. And so that is what I recommend you do. And we're doing this, we're targeting the No Kings protest specifically because it is an extremely safe place to start. I'm going to go back here and emphasize this. The No Kings group is a very, very safe place to start. Unless you do something to provoke something, the chances of you getting in some sort of physical altercation where you are actually physically assaulted is very, 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 very minimum. Okay. I'm not saying there's a 0% chance. There's always a chance. There are crazy people that go to every protest. You might not even run into like a leftist. You might just run into a crazy homeless person. You always have to be mindful of the fact that there are always crazy people at these protests, and you need to stay as far away from them as possible. Like, keep a wide perimeter. You got to have a lot of situational awareness when you're in events like this. But like overall, I really don't want people to be nervous that they're going to get assaulted or something like that, because the chances of that happening at this event are very, very low. And if you don't do anything to instigate and provoke it, then they get even lower than that, because mostly the people who are going to be at this protest are going to be progressives. Even if you have more far leftists that are inclined to engage in violence, they're probably not going to do that with an audience that it can be like used against them later. So it is an extremely safe thing to do, and I'm really glad you guys are interested in doing it. Let me just check the Q&A tab real quick to see if there are any questions so far. Do we have to register before going to an event? No, you do not have to register to go to any of these events. You don't have, but we will talk about getting a fake identity and things like that, because you do want to have a place where you can like register for things or sign up for mailing lists. But do you have to register to go to a protest or a rally? No, you just show up. It's just like a Trump rally. Oh, I guess Trump rallies make you buy tickets in advance, or they did. But like when you go to a rally, like most of these things, the bigger events are going to be out in a park or something. It's a public event. You can just show up. You don't need to put your name on a list or anything like that. Do people at the No Kings protests wear masks outside? Good question. And I understand why you're asking that. No, most of them don't. You may see people wearing masks, but I would say that's going to be like a very, very small minority of the overall group. So I wouldn't really worry about bringing a mask. If there are people that want you to wear a mask, chances are they will have one. Sometimes there are kind of like weird groups that set up and do tables and things like off to the side, and there's a whole bunch of them. And in order to come into their little circle or something, you need to put on a mask, but they'll provide you with a mask if they want you to do that. So you don't need to worry about bringing one or anything. Um, Wayne says, if it helps, I documented to the No Kings online. He's got a URL there. I've been infiltrating the far right for the thank you, Wayne, for that. I appreciate that in the Q&A tab. Let's get back to the presentation. Now there's a bunch of stuff that you got to do. Well, maybe not a bunch of stuff, but maybe some things you should do before you go to the protest. And the very first thing you want to do is you have got to create your secret undercover identity. Now, basically, what you need to do is you need to create a fake name of some sort, and you need to create an email address associated with that name. I'm not asking you to go get a fake ID or anything. I'm literally just saying invent a new name that you can use, that you will remember, that is not your real name, and then create an email address exclusively associated with that name. Okay. And you can set up a free email address on Gmail or Proton Mail or any email like provider that you want. There are a million free ones out there. And so if you pick out any email provider, and you want to create a fake name and a fake email address so that you have the opportunity to sign up for mailing lists at these events, because a lot of people, if they have tables out, they'll ask you to get on a mailing list. Sometimes you're going to want to do that. You don't want to give them your real name. It's also really helpful just to have all of the email going to separate accounts, so you can kind of keep it separate from your normal life. And so that is what I would do. Also, the fake name and email address can continue with you after the No Kings protest if you want to keep doing stuff like this, signing up for online events that like trainings and stuff that you want to infiltrate. And that could actually be really helpful to us in general too, is to have a whole bunch of people with fake identities knowing how to infiltrate these online events, because as you guys know, I can't go to every everything. I can't record everything. And one of the things I really do want to create with this is an army of people who have the ability to do this stuff online and in person whenever they want to. It's much easier for you guys to do this stuff than it is for me because my face is on the internet. They know what I look like. They can monitor what I'm doing if they really want to. They normally don't, but they could if they wanted to. All of you guys are more private people. Your identities are not out there. Your pictures are not out there, at least not in any consistent way. And so you have a much better chance of kind of like flying under the radar with a lot of this stuff than I do. And that can be very helpful for all of us because we can all work together to gather intelligence. So create a name and a fake identity that you want to commit to. You use this for like mailing lists and stuff like that. Generally speaking, I recommend just not giving them your phone number. They may ask for your phone number, but you don't have to give it. You can say, I don't really give out my phone number except to, like really close contacts or things like that. Or you could just like, put 000 or whatever if they make you fill out a form or whatever. But I recommend not giving them your phone number. To say you guys can just send me an email, that's fine. Generally speaking, I think that it's easier to use names that you have some sort of relation to. So I'm not obviously going to tell you guys any of my secret names, but like, first of all, many of the names that I use are more non-binary names. Many of the names I use are more non-binary names. So it's like they're names that could be man or woman. They're names that if I needed to, I could say I'm actually non-binary if I'm going to some queer event or something like that. So that tends to be what I do. But I also recommend you have to make it easy to remember the name that you're using because if you talk to people and they say, "Oh, hi, I'm Johnny Jones," you want to be able to say, "Hi, I'm X, Y, B, and Z," and you can just give your first name and that's okay. But you want to be sure you're using your fake identity because, again, we don't want to give away your real name and making it something that can be easy to remember. Like sometimes I've used nicknames that I've had in the past that maybe a boyfriend gave me or something. And so I know what that nickname is. No one in the public knows what that nickname is, but it's a reference for me that is something familiar where if someone calls me that, it wouldn't be completely out of the realm of like craziness. Or I might use names of like, friends of mine or things like that. Things that I can remember easily and that it's easy for me to switch into. So if you have some relation to the name already and it's different enough from like your actual name, that is a good way to go, I think. But like really whatever you can remember is gonna work. I also recommend that when you go to these things, bring a little bit of cash with you. I'm not saying you're gonna have to spend that cash, you probably won't, but when I've gone undercover at, like, anarchist book fairs and things, and I've been collecting zines, sometimes they just want a couple bucks for zines. I'm more than willing to do that. If you're not willing to pay for zines, that's fine. Like, most of the time, you don't need to do that. If you don't know what a zine is yet, don't worry about it, I'll tell you about it. But, but, it's just good to have a little bit of cash. You don't wanna be using your credit cards and stuff like this at events, and honestly, and this has happened to more than one person in my community. Sometimes when we go undercover at leftist events, they're selling really interesting leftist merch that we want to buy and we want to collect. It's a weird little hobby that some people in my community get into is collecting things from the far left. I have a whole far left merchandise collection. It's actually kind of crazy. I have a t-shirt collection. I've got like a crazy sticker collection of just things I've gotten at these events and at these bookstores and things like that. And so you might want to spend money on that stuff, and it's better to spend cash than to use your credit card or something like that. So create your fake identity. Now, along with your fake identity, one of the things you want to be thinking about is what is the persona of that identity? Okay. Why is this person there? And you need to make up a story in relation to this person so that if you get into a conversation with someone, you have a backstory to be able to go to. Why are you there? Why are you there? And it's totally fine. And I think it's very appropriate in this case that you want to be kind of like one of those people that if you have to talk to people, you're kind of playing dumb. Okay. You're playing dumb. Our purpose there is not to like get into some debate with these people. Our purpose there is to get them talking so that they can give away to us what they believe and what they're doing and all of this good stuff. So maybe someone asks you, "Hey, nice to meet you. You know what brought you out here today?" Maybe you're a disillusioned Trump voter that hates this stupid war in Iran, and maybe you think the ICE stuff has gone too far. Now, some of that might be true, some of it might not be true, but that's like a persona you can have. And I actually think that might be a really good one for a lot of people who are kind of, because I know I have a lot of people in my community that feel this way, that are upset with Trump right now, and maybe the left is actually better on the anti-war stuff. So you can actually go in, I think many of you, with a truthful story. Yeah, or the gas prices seems like I think I said that too. Like, are you just getting involved with politics because everything is too expensive? Like these fucking gas prices. Like, what the fuck is going on? Fuck Trump. He said he was going to bring everything down and he didn't bring them down. That is a perfectly reasonable thing to say at these protests. And honestly, guys, the truer your story can be, the better it's going to be, because the truer your story is, the more authentic and naturally you're going to be able to tell that story in conversation. Also, the Epstein stuff, Chad says, yeah, that's a great, I'm really pissed off at Trump for these Epstein files, and I don't know, man, I just don't know. And like, you can really, again, kind of like play dumb, like you're brand new to this, you've never done this before, but like you can also be genuine in some of your answers with, use it as an opportunity to list your grievances with Trump. And that would actually be a really interesting thing to see how different groups react to those types of grievances and how they try to bring you onto their side. Now, I want to really emphasize, just because some of us may currently dislike Trump does not mean that we are on the side of the far left. Okay? You might find yourself being in agreement with some of the people that you talk to at this protest. And that can be a really shocking thing, because you're like, oh my gosh, do I agree with the socialists more than I agree with the fascist right? Am I actually becoming a socialist? No, you're not, because they have a completely different thought process for how they come to their conclusions. But this is something, again, we are not of the left. We are not on the left. We are observers of the left. And so we are not of them, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be like ignoring very legitimate grievances when we can use that grievance to form an undercover persona that is going to get us access to information that we need. The closer that you can get to the truth, the easier it will be for you to remember. And it also gives the people you might be talking to an easy way to talk to you about their organizations. Okay? And so am I a fascist, Derek? Yes. Yeah, anyone who watches my content should know that by now. Let me get into the Q&A tab and see what you guys are saying over in the Q&A tab. Let me see. Shelly says, "Are personal size signs acceptable for this, saying no kings, for example?" I mean, if you want to bring a sign, yeah, you can bring a sign, but most people are not going to be bringing signs. And honestly, you will probably find people handing out signs there. So if you really want a sign, you will probably, especially if you're at like a bigger protester rally in like a bigger city, there will probably be people handing out signs. And it'll be interesting for you to see what groups are doing that, and maybe even I would collect the signs and bring them home. But I don't think I would bring a sign. Like, the vast majority of people are not going to bring a sign. That's a good question. Melanie said, should we bring a burner phone to the event? I wouldn't worry about that, honestly. I never have brought a burner phone to these events, and it's not something I think is really necessary, but that's a good question. Reagan says, for phone numbers, would it be a good idea to set up a Google Voice number? Yeah, you can totally do that. You can set up a Google Voice number to get text messages and stuff like that. That's a really smart thing to do. If you can remember that number, you're going to have to memorize it. Maybe Reagan's much smarter than most people, so she's probably got hers memorized, but you have to be able to memorize it on the spot. So that's the only thing I would say. David said, would a new email account be easily recognizable? I mean, is there a way to tell it's newly created? No, there's no way to tell a Gmail account is newly created or a Proton Mail account is newly created. Not if you're just like getting on a mailing list. So basically, all they're going to get when you sign up for their mailing list is your email address and whatever name you give them. You are giving them all the information. They can't see inside your email account. And quite frankly, they don't have the resources to vet every single email account. So you're just getting loaded into a database somewhere. And it's not even under your real name. It's under whatever fake name you made up. And by the way, guys, I want to say this too about the fake name. Do not give the fake name to anyone. Do not give it to me. Do not put it in the community. Do not put it in the chat. Do not put it in the Discord. Do not tell anyone. Keep your fake name to yourself. It is extremely easy to kind of slip up with stuff like this, and I don't want to be responsible for accidentally revealing someone, and I don't want someone's secret. Not that it's like an emergency if your secret identity gets revealed, but it's just like kind of a pain in the ass because then you have to go create a whole other new secret identity, and the other one gets totally burned, and you might get taken off their mailing list and stuff like that. And so it's not like an emergency if your name gets revealed. It's just more of an annoyance. And so I really want to make sure we're protecting people's identities as much as possible. Do not reveal your fake name to anyone. There is literally no one else that needs to know. Okay. Megan says, I work with a few people that have hinted at being leftists. I expect I may see them at the upcoming protests. I figured I could just say I go back a name for security if they ever ask. Well, I mean, if you run into people you know, then obviously you're not going to use a fake name with people that you know. You have to, and by the way, if you see them, just walk away, just avoid them. In theory, like it's going to be a big enough event where you should be able to avoid them if you want to. If they come up to you, there's nothing you can do about it. But generally speaking, people do tend to keep to themselves. So I would not, if you see your coworkers, just walk in the other fucking direction. You do not need to go out of your way to interact with them when you're there. But I wouldn't use your fake name with your coworkers. Just use that if you're going to sign up for mailing lists and stuff like that. And honestly, you have no obligation to hang out with your freaking coworkers when you're at the protest anyway. So it's not like you even have to hang out with them. Say hi, hey, hope you guys have a good day. I'm going to go over here now. Walk off on your own, go do your own thing. That's all you need to do. This does not need to be overly complicated. Are there mannerisms that might make them alarmed or suspicious? I don't really know what you mean by mannerisms. I mean, don't do any of those fucking I probably shouldn't swear, but whatever. Don't do any of those fucking 4chan symbols, like the whole like okay symbol. Don't provoke them. Just don't, like, guys, just don't. We'll talk about this a little bit later. Just don't do anything stupid to provoke them by doing some dissident right wing thing or making some dissident right wing reference or any of that. Like, if you are making a mannerism that is going to make them suspicious, you are probably doing something that you should not be doing and trying to actively provoke them. And again, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I disavow all of that. All right, back into the presentation. I will come back to the Q&A tab in a second. Guys, please keep dropping your questions in the Q&A tab when you have them. That would be awesome. How to dress. This was the question I've been asked most this week. How do we dress? Maybe a good way to think about it is you've just created a new persona with this fake name and this backstory about why you're at this protest. How would that person dress? Would that person be an Antifa Black Bloc? No, probably not. Would that person be running around with fake tattoos and fake piercings because you guys think that they all have tattoos and piercings? They don't, by the way. No, that person probably would not be doing that. Just dress normally. I cannot emphasize this enough. You do not need to wear some sort of costume to these events. You can literally just dress normally. Do a t-shirt, a hoodie, a jacket, a collared shirt, like a polo shirt, like whatever. Do a nice pair of jeans. I mean, don't wear like slacks or anything. You're going to a freaking protest. You're not going to be dressing up in business casual, but like a pair of jeans. You wear leggings. Like I've worn leggings to many, many, many of these things. Like it doesn't honestly really matter. Just dress normal, generic. I would say like maybe not try to stick out. What we're trying to do is blend in. We're not trying to stick out. We're not trying to like be the center of attention. I probably wouldn't wear bright colors. I generally wear very drab colors when I go undercover at leftist events. I'm not trying to wear anything bright that's going to draw the attention to me, because actually what I want is to push the attention away from me, because I am not the center of the thing. And so just the biggest caution I would give is no religious symbols, no political symbols, no fucking MAGA hats. Like I don't know, I probably shouldn't have to say this, but I know I'm gonna have to say this. No Jesus shirts, and I don't care how much you love Jesus, you need to not wear the Jesus shirt on the No Kings protest. That would be stupid. No, 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 no religious shirts of any kind, okay? And if you say, Carlin, all I have is Jesus shirts because I really love Jesus, well, guess what? You got the next week to go to Target and buy a t-shirt, okay? You have the next week to go to Target and to buy a black t-shirt for $5, and you can wear that with a jean jacket or something else. There is no reason to be wearing political symbols, religious symbols, anything that could be controversial. You are not trying to stand out. You are not trying to start an argument. You are not trying to debate anyone. You are trying to blend in. If you want to wear a hat, wear a hat. If you want to wear sunglasses, wear sunglasses. I don't think you need to wear a mask. I think that might be taking it a bit too far. But if you want to do that, hey, I guess you could. But like, I wouldn't do that. I think that that's too much of a costume. Just dress normally. The vast majority of people who are going to be there are just going to be do-gooder progressives and Democrats and liberals. And yeah, of course, the far left is going to be there, but like they're not the only ones who are going to be there. And our only job is to like blend in with the crowd as much as possible. Now, some of you might be really nervous doing this, especially if this is your first time doing something like this. And you know what? Like I said earlier, you might feel out of place. It is a very weird thing. And I know that there are people in the chat that have done this before. I know, like, and this was my experience too when I first started going undercover with the far left. It can feel like an out of body experience, especially if you've watched a lot of content with me and you've watched a lot of these protests on video, but you've never been to one in person. It can truly feel like an out of body experience where you are going to feel out of place because it's simply not an environment that you are used to. But what I want you to keep in mind is, first off, many of you are going to be going to very large protests, I would think. You are going to be but one person in a sea of people. And here is what I've learned over my time doing this. Most people are incredibly selfish. Most people are focused on themselves at all times. They are not focused on you. Even if they're standing right next to you, you might not even register on their radar. How many times have you been walking down a crowded street and someone walks by you and they bump right into you because they're not even paying attention? And like they could have seen you coming. It's like they walked right into you. How many times has that happened to you? That's because that person is so self-absorbed that even though they are literally right next to another person, they don't even know that person exists. That's what it's like at these protests. It is very, very easy to blend in. And so you are going to feel out of place because you know that this is an environment that you are not supposed to be in. Or like it's not that you're not supposed to be in it, but you're going to feel like you're not supposed to be in it. And so that's going to feel weird. It's going to make you self conscious. What you have to keep in mind is no one else sees you like that. No one else is having that feeling about you because the people that you're surrounded by probably don't know who you are, probably don't care who you are, and really are just there to serve their own purposes. And they are only going to notice you if there is a reason to notice you. So they are not feeling the same way about you that you are feeling about the situation. Again, I'll emphasize this is going to be an incredibly safe event. If you do not do something to provoke them, they are probably not going to do anything related to you. In fact, many of you could probably go to this entire event and walk around and collect materials and take pictures and not talk to a single person. You really can do that at these types of events because, again, for the ones that are going to the really big protests, they are so large that it's like no one is really concerned about anyone that they don't know at those protests. Put on a pair of sunglasses, put on a hat, like that'll make it even less likely that people will talk to you if you don't want to engage with them. And that's totally fine. And you know what? Listen, I would be lying if I said that, if I didn't say that, like, doing this stuff is fun. Doing this stuff is fun. I know I kind of focus on, making sure you're safe and all that and all the things maybe you shouldn't do and, all this kind of like pedantic stuff. But like, I love going undercover with the left. It is fun. It is such a cool experience to be in the videos that we watch on Socialism Saturday, to actually be at the event, to be surrounded by it in real life, to be able to interact with these people and they have no idea who they're talking to and they have no idea that you're spying on them and that you're there to get their information. Again, they don't know who you are. They think that you are a newcomer to their cause and is an opportunity to recruit and radicalize another person, but you know that you're like a double agent and it's really cool and it's like an adrenaline rush and it is very, very, very fun. I have never regretted going undercover at one of these events. I've never been physically assaulted at one of these events. I've never had anything dangerous happen to me. Even when I got put on an Antifa wall where I was literally on a wall of enemies at the event, I was still able to go in and go all the way around the event and get everything I wanted. And they had no clue I was there until after I had already left. Okay. So that is how selfish a lot of the people at these events are. That's not to say that people on the right aren't selfish too. They're selfish in their own ways, but like they're not focused on you. They are focused on them. And it can actually be once you kind of get over that hurdle of feeling out of place, it can actually be so fun to be in these environments. And I'm really looking forward to some of you guys experiencing this for the first time and coming back and talking to us about what that was like. And I think that's going to be a really interesting thing. Okay, so why are we there? What is the point of all this? What is the point of all this? We are gathering intelligence to document what far left groups are at these protests. So not only are you going to the protest to see what's going on there, the big thing that we're going to be looking for is what is going on around the protest. What signs are being posted? What stickers are being posted? What groups are being there? I've got a couple pictures right here on the screen. These are all pictures from the Revolutionary Communists of America. The top one that says "Fight Trump and the Democrats" is a sign that was in a coffee shop in New Haven, Connecticut that someone sent me just to say, oh my God, I saw this sign in the wild. The bottom two, the first one is actually a photo I took. This was in Boston last June when I was there for the Pride Parade. And the Revolutionary Communists of America had gone out the night before and had hung their signs everywhere, all over the Pride Parade route. And this is one of the more busy T stations in Boston. You can see that coming up to it, we had the RCA signs on either side. They were literally all over the lampposts and things like that, all over the place around there. That one says "Fight Queer Oppression Through Class Struggle." We want to be taking pictures of stuff like this that we see, making sure we're documenting the groups that are going to be there. Oftentimes you'll see that the group names are written on the signs or on the stickers or stuff like that. So just snapping a quick picture, if you can pick up a sticker, like oftentimes they'll be handing out stickers and things like that, totally take them with you. Collect as much stuff as you can from these people. And especially anytime you see something with like an organization's name on it, that's going to be awesome. Here are some other examples of things that I've gotten at these types of events. So we got this sticker or this postcard here: "Capitalism is the disease, socialism is the cure." You can see down at the bottom there, that's the Party for Socialism and Liberation symbol. So that was actually given to me directly by the Party for Socialism and Liberation. You got the Socialist Rifle Association there. That was a brochure that I got from them when they were doing a tabling event. That last sticker, "Fuck ICE and the government, LA shows the way," that was actually an Antifa sticker that I got directly from Antifa in Boston. So because we have all of these materials, we know that all of those groups are active in the Boston area because they're all at these events handing out their stuff so we can find them. This is also another great opportunity to see what other stuff is going on in the city that might be worth documenting. So for example, when this was these are some pictures from last year when I went to the Boston Pride Parade. We have here queer therapy in Boston. There was actually a queer therapy business that was handing out brochures at the Pride Parade. And that's the type of stuff, that's the type of really crazy stuff you want to look for. I can't tell you how many organizations I found that are doing like gender stuff with like kids just by going to events like these and just by collecting the propaganda, because a lot of organizations that are working directly with kids to try to convince them that gender isn't real and that sort of thing, they go to tabling events at events like this and they just hand out all their stuff and you're like, oh, there's this organization doing queer kids therapy in Boston. Oh, holy shit, maybe someone should look into that. Also got a couple pictures in the middle there. These are actually pictures that I took out of the car when my husband was driving us into Boston. So we actually saw like a "Smash Fascism" sticker just on a random pipe on the interstate, and it's kind of cool to see that. And then the bottom one there was like a bumper sticker that we saw in someone's car. It says blow up the binary, which is obviously a reference to the gender binary. We want to get as much stuff like that as possible just because it's interesting to see all the different ways the propaganda shows up. We've also got that photo of Quincy Market there. That was like full on progress flag. Quincy Market, for people who don't know, in Boston is like a really main focal tourist hub. It's like a very central location in the city that kind of like everyone knows about and everyone goes to. It was all full on queer stuff. We want to be able to document stuff like that when you see it. If you see churches that have all sorts of crazy queer shit hanging off of them, take a picture of it. Like, just document what's going on in your area so that other people can see just how pervasive some of this stuff is. Here's some more examples of this. These were actually all taken at Cal Anderson Park in Seattle when I went out there, I think last October. So you've got a dumpster there with all the Trump people, and they're talking about Epstein and all that. That was like a lot giant ass dumpster just in the middle of the street. So we take a picture of that. We walked around Cal Anderson Park and took pictures of all the stickers and the graffiti and stuff like that. There's a ton of it there, but this is just a couple example. ICE is the new KKK. Yes, you need a union. Anytime you see something with a QR code or an organization name, that's something you want to take a picture of or collect. So again, the purpose of this is to identify what organizations are active in the area. And then on the right there, I mentioned this on Socialism Saturday yesterday, but that is actually an ACT UP memorial in Cal Anderson Park. And so ACT UP, of course, is the big militant queer activist movement that inspired today's militant queer activists. That is actually an ACT UP memorial. The yellow sign there says silence equals death, and it's all about the ACT UP movement. And that is a memorial in Cal Anderson Park. So anytime we see these leftist memorials or things like that, we want to make sure to take a picture of them. Also, make sure you're looking around stuff. If you start to see a lot of leftist things, make sure you're really looking on all sides. Like when we went in Seattle and saw a giant sculpture of Lenin, if you looked at the stickers that were stuck to that statue, that was actually probably one of the most interesting things, because one of the stickers on the statue of the giant Lenin sculpture essentially said that Antifa hated the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And so it was like an advertisement to like Antifa don't work with the PSL. And so that's like the type of stuff within leftist subculture that we really like, because we want to know how all these groups are working together and what they all think of each other, because it is a decentralized, non-hierarchical movement. So if you can actually find stuff like that in the real world where you've got one leftist group kind of shit talking another leftist group, that can actually be really great to document and just take pictures of absolutely everything. Now, groups might you see there? There are going to be all sorts of different groups there. Here are just a couple that you might see. The Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, I think it's pretty obvious they're going to be at most of these protests. The Working Families Party. The Working Families Party, you might see more in the Northeast or alternatively in the Southwest. But this is kind of like a party like the DSA. They do run candidates in local elections. They are like a DSA. They're a Democratic Socialist type group. They're not a far left revolutionary group, but they are a group that we need to keep an eye on. They've been definitely actively involved in the No Kings organizing. So we're definitely going to see them show up. Party for Socialism and Liberation. They never miss an opportunity to show up and stuff like this. So we want to make sure we're collecting their propaganda. You may see the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. You may see the Revolutionary Communists of America. You may see Socialist Alternative. All of those groups tend to be active at stuff like this. You might see anti-ICE groups, anti-war groups, tenant right groups, immigrant right groups. I can't believe I forgot to put unions on there. We might definitely see different unions, especially the teachers union showing up. If you see teachers union showing up, you get a picture of that. If teachers unions handing out pamphlets or propaganda or things like that, you collect everything you can from the teachers union, everything you can from all the unions. You may see the Starbucks workers union show up because they've been doing a strike lately, so they might be talking about what they're doing. Literally every single group that we've seen in far left organizing in the anti-ICE protests are probably also going to be showing up at the No Kings protests, because again, this is all the same ecosystem for them. And the one I'm really curious is how many people are going to run into distros. Distros are Antifa propaganda distributing, okay? Distros are where you get the Antifa propaganda. Distros are going to look a lot like the table in this picture. It's going to be a giant table or two with tons of zines. And zines are the main thing that we're interested in. Zines are little hand produced publications, little booklets of information, or a little pamphlet, and they may be hand drawn and they're probably photocopied and stuff like that. These are things that Antifa hands out to pretty much anyone that will take them to talk about their ideology. So this is actually an Antifa table of zines that I ran into again back in Boston last June. And I literally just took everything on there. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about this while we're on this slide. You have got to bring a bag to this. This is a mistake I actually made when I was at that Boston event, because when I ran into that Antifa table in Boston, I didn't have a bag with me because I wasn't even supposed to be going to a far left event. Me and Victor were going out to dinner. We were going to go out to a nice dinner somewhere, and on our way to dinner, we walked by a far left event happening on the Boston Common, and I was like, "Oh wow, we have to go." We didn't have a bag with us or anything. It was like the worst experience ever because we had all this propaganda that I just kept going around to all the tables and collecting and then giving to Victor to carry. We eventually had to stop and like actually buy a tote bag from a socialist group, and the tote bag was completely filled. I don't want anyone to underestimate the amount of propaganda that you may collect at these protests. Like it is immense. I have been shocked consistently at the amount. I literally have, from the road trip I took last fall, I have probably 20 pounds of propaganda that I've collected. I pounds of propaganda from all the different events I went to. Like it is immense the amount of materials that you can collect. So I strongly, 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 strongly recommend that you bring a backpack, you bring a tote bag. Maybe if you're bringing a lot of stuff in your backpack, bring a separate tote bag so that you have something to put things in, flyers, pamphlets, stickers, zines, anything that is being handed out by a leftist group. Just collect as much of it as possible. You don't have to look at everything, you don't have to read everything. We can do that later when we get home, but part of our purpose of being there is to get in and to collect as many of these pieces of propaganda as possible. Because again, this is going to tell you what groups are active in the area, what ideas are they pushing primarily, what ideas aren't they pushing, what things are they talking about, what are they taking the time to make to hand out at this event, why are they doing it, what local events are happening in the area. You're probably going to have people that are handing out flyers that have all sorts of like event information of here are all the ways you can come join us, and here's the venues we have, like our little socialist bookstores and stuff like that. This is where we start to get into the rabbit hole of what is going on. So if you strike the mother load like this and you don't have a bag to put it all in, I promise you that's going to be a big regret that you have. And so just bring a bag. And if you're going to bring a backpack where you're putting in like water and like, you know, whatever you're bringing with you, that's fine. But make sure you have a separate tote bag just in case. You can just stuff it in the bag. It's not that big of a deal. But you are going to thank me if you strike the mother load. I promise you. When you are talking to these people, if you choose to talk to people, just play dumb. Okay? Again, I know it might be intimidating going up and collecting propaganda, especially if you're going up to like an Antifa table or something like that, or a distro table, and you're getting all that type of stuff. It might be really nerve-wracking. Again, you don't need to give a big, long, drawn-out explanation. If they ask you why you're there, the less you say, the better. If you set them, what you want to do is set them up to talk to you, and like, oh man, I just don't know about this Iran business. Like, I didn't expect that this was going to happen. And it sucks. And if you were like, I would probably even say, and again, I do veer on the side of saying like truthful things. I would even say to them, like, you know, I was really involved in anti-war protesting back when we went into Iraq in college, and this just feels like the same thing, and I'm just not in favor of it. And I would just like play dumb, or basically just like let it just kind of ramble around that point. Let them talk to you. And by the way, it's totally fine to lie and to tell them what they want to hear if you can do it in an authentic way, try to find agreement with them. Like, yeah, I mean, I totally get where you guys are coming from with this ICE stuff. I really think Trump has gone too far. It's totally okay to lie. Obviously, if I said that to someone, that would be a lie. But me saying, man, like, I just think that Trump's gone too far with this ICE stuff, and I just don't know, man. Like, try to find a way to agree with them, and it's okay to lie to tell them what they want to hear, because then you're going to get them talking, and then the onus is on them to do the talking. The less talking you do to them, the better. You should really be spending most of your time listening to what they're saying. And above all, do not try to debunk them. Do not try to debunk them directly. Do not try to debunk them indirectly with a backhanded remark. Do not try to debunk them passive aggressively. Your job there is not to start an argument with these people. Your job is to listen to them, to understand their perspective, to collect their propaganda. It is not to engage in any sort of like debate in which you are drawing attention to yourself. And while we're on the topic, let's just make sure we're going through our list of don'ts here. Let's make sure we're going through our list of don'ts. We are observers of the far left. We are not of the situation. We are outside of the situation. We are not in the situation. We do not debate. We do not push back. We do not dunk on or try to own the libs with a smart-ass remark, because it accomplishes nothing. It will only turn them against you. It will only prevent them from talking to you and giving you all the information they could. You need to rein that in. We do not proselytize. I'm sure that some of you really love Jesus. You are allowed to love Jesus. If you bring Jesus into this event, you will completely screw it up and it will go nowhere. It is not about you. It is about collecting information. And if you can't decenter Jesus for a day, then if this is not the endeavor for you. Do not agitate or provoke a fight for clicks. Do not pull out your phone and start filming every single thing that they say. I don't think there's a problem with like filming innocuously in the background if you're like filming a speech or something, or you're filming part of the march or something. You're not right up in someone's face with a camera. Do not get into anyone's face with a camera. It makes no sense. Not unless you're recording to protect yourself, like someone has started threatening you or something like that. If someone threatens you, it's totally fine to pull out your phone and start recording. I'm going to be blunt though, that's never happened to me, and I've literally been undercover at more of these events than anyone. And so if it hasn't happened to me yet, it's probably not going to happen to you. There's no reason to be pulling out your phone and sticking it in someone's face. You're just trying to provoke something. If someone tries to start trouble with you, which is probably a pretty low chance of that happening, all you need to do is walk away. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to validate yourself. That person is probably going to forget about you as soon as you're gone. You're probably going to forget about them as soon as you're gone. Just turn around and walk away. Walk into the crowd. Take the high road. There is nothing that can be accomplished by engaging with someone who is trying to provoke shit. You are not there to be in the story. You are there to observe. Lastly, and I cannot emphasize this enough, this is, again, I think a pretty low risk event for people to go to. That's why I picked it out for this type of activity. But if you are incapable of controlling your emotions at this event, you should not go. If you are incapable of walking away, if you end up running into a crazy person that's trying to do something, then you should not go. If you are incapable of going without trying to provoke a fight or start a debate of some sort, then you should not go. If I find out that anyone in my community operated on my behalf was doing any of these things just to provoke problems, I will disavow you and kick you out of the community, and you will not be invited back. Do not ever do that stuff in my name. Nothing good ever comes of it. I don't want to be associated with people who are doing that. And if that is what you are trying to do, then go somewhere else. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. That's the way it is. If you can't rein it in from proselytizing for a couple hours to go do some research, you should not go. If you just can't hold back that passive aggressive remark to own the libs because you're used to memeing on Twitter, you should not go. If this is your first time doing something like this, it is natural to need to practice to get used to being in this type of environment. Sometimes people might make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, but at some point you need to be the one to be in control of things to say this is the time to turn around and walk away. This is not the time and place for a debate. This is a time where I need to go and keep my cover, because we're not talking about a one-time thing with this. I want to set people up to be going undercover with the left in the long term for the foreseeable future, to be continuing to collect evidence and what's going on the ground in your area after this event. If you blow your cover on the first day by starting a fight with someone, then you are not useful in this regard. We've got to learn to control ourselves. This is not about what you want. This is about what's good for everyone else. And it is about achieving the goal of collecting the information and the intelligence to make sure we are disseminating that out. Okay, so what happens after the No Kings protest? Here is what I want everyone to do. And we are now almost an hour into the presentation, so I know that the people listening right now are the people who are committed. What I want everyone to do right now, if you agree to go to the No Kings protest, if you agree to collect information at this event, if you already know you're going to do this, I want you to send an email right now to intel@leftwingstudies.com and tell me where you are in the country so that I can start keeping track of what events are going to be covered. Again, that is intel@leftwingstudies.com. You can send this email from your real account. You can send this email from a decoy account. You can send this email from a fake identity account. I don't really care where you send the email from. What I want is an email from you saying, yes, I'm going to go do this. And here is the area that I'm in. So I can start to map out the geography of who we have where. I also want to create a spreadsheet of people where basically, if I know of a leftist event happening in your area, I want to be able to email that to you and be like, can you go to this? Can you do this? I want to be very clear about this. I am the only person with access to this email. No one else has access to this email. I will be taking this information and putting it into a spreadsheet that I will have access to, and potentially some very, very trusted people that I've worked with consistently, like Reagan, for instance. Reagan might get access to this, but this is going to be something that is going to be held extremely close to the chest, because it really is, this is our master list, guys, of who is available to go undercover with the left in what geographic area. And I will protect your identity. If you prefer to DM me on Twitter with this information, please go ahead and do that. But I need some way to communicate with you, and I need to know where you are in the country. You do not need to use your real name. If you want to use a fake name, that's totally fine. I don't really care. I just need to know how to communicate with you and where you are in the country. And that is literally all I need to know to get started, so that we can start to create, again, a list of volunteers that is going to do this type of thing. And that would be awesome. And then what is going to happen is, after you email me at intel@leftwingstudies.com, I am going to invite you to the Center for Left Wing Studies Discord. And this is where we are going to post our information following the event, where there is now a place in the Center for Left Wing Studies Discord where you can post your photos, you can post your intelligence, you can post, if you're getting zines, you can give us a list of the zines that you got, or you can just take pictures of the zines and post them there. We can usually find zines online. We can figure out other ways to get this intelligence into the system so it all gets into the same place. But basically, the Center for Left Wing Studies Discord is going to be where we are going to create a master kind of like area where we have all this intelligence, and we will make all of this public. That is the point of doing this. The Center for Left Wing Studies Discord is just a place to gather this intelligence together in one place and have it archived for perpetuity. We are going to take it and make this information public so it can be useful in terms of, again, educating the public on what left wing groups are operating where and mapping out the ecosystem that is directly active at these protests. And I want to make it clear. I said before we started the presentation that it was very possible that some leftists are going to try to infiltrate this. It is very possible that there will be leftists who email me pretending they're going undercover with the left at the Intel at Left Wing Studies email address. That will be very possible. It will be possible that they get into the Center for Left Wing Studies Discord. That is very possible. Guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because what we're doing involves a report back of primary source evidence from on the ground evidence collecting. And so those leftists can infiltrate the Discord all they want and see, oh, here's all the photos that they took in New York City at this event, or here's all the photos that this person took in the Bay Area or wherever. It doesn't really matter, because we're going to make this stuff public anyway. They're going to have access to it anyway. This is just a way for us to get all the information in one place. So what I'm trying to say is, like, I've thought through how to do this in a way where even if leftists are infiltrating us right now and they're feeling real accomplished about all that, it actually doesn't matter, because it's not like they can submit fake information. And if they do submit fake information, I'm going to be able to trace that back to the source, and I'm going to know instantly whether or not it's fake. And probably other people who've been doing this for a while are going to know instantly whether or not it's fake. And we're going to be able to kick them out. And so there's really nothing they can do to stop us with this. Even if they get into the Discord, it's not like they can delete anything. It's not like they have the access to change anything. And it's not like they can argue with primary source evidence. And we're going to make it all public anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But again, I will say this as a final reminder: we do expect that the left will be watching. And the most important thing for you guys to do is to protect your fake identity so that you can protect your real life identity so that you can go undercover again. Because that is what is most important, guys. We need to be able to set people up to do this over and over and over again. I have a vision for this that is not just a one-time deal. I want us to be doing this stuff all the time. I want to have volunteers all over the country who are just as into this stuff as I am, collecting this information so that we can get it all into one place, so that we can disseminate it out to the world and really start to build a lot of flavor around how is the modern left operating, how big is the far left, what is their reach, what are they doing in all the different groups. And so the most important thing we need to do is protect our identities. I will never reveal your identity. I have collected tons of secret information about people doing this in the past. I have never once given up a source. It's never happened. Just because I release DMs with Andy No when he's being a tool doesn't mean I release people who are actually doing good work. I would never do that. We'll always protect your guys' identities. So anything that's communicated with me is going to stay at a very high level so that we can continue to do this in perpetuity. Now, that's all I've got for the presentation, guys. I am going to go back over to the Q&A tab. And if I missed anything, please be sure to tell me. Let me go through the Q&A and start seeing where I left off. And please, guys, any questions you have, I have not been paying attention to the chat during the main part of the presentation. So any questions you have, please put them in the Q&A tab now, and I will take a look at them. Can I please go back? Shelly, I will make this recording. The recording is going to be available after the fact, so so you can go back in the recording and take slides on how to dress. But I mean, again, Shelly, the most important thing with how to dress is dress normal. Dress normal. If you wouldn't go to something wearing all black, then don't wear all black. If you don't have tattoos, don't do fake tattoos. Don't wear Jesus shirts, don't wear political shirts, don't wear anything that could provoke. Plain is better, drab colors are better. Like, it's just, you're dressing to blend in. But you will be getting the recording after the presentation so that you can go back to stuff that you wanted to listen to again. Just a statement worth repeating. We aren't trying to play far left. Yeah. So David's making a really good point here. He's saying just a statement worth repeating. We aren't trying to play far left. We're trying to blend in as a disillusioned voter, use actual reasons. That is such a great point, David. I'm really glad you picked up on that. We are not trying to play pretend that we are the far left. We are going as people who, oh my God, I just don't know about Trump and this Iran war and all this stuff. Like, you're a disillusioned voter. You're looking for answers. You're looking for direction. You're looking for a group that understands you. That is what you're doing. You are not playing Antifa. We are playing disillusioned voter, which happens to be true in many cases. Caroline says, if one gets invited within their inner circles, what does one do? Well, Caroline, you're not going to get invited into their inner circles by going to the No Kings protest for the first time. So, as of right now, you don't need to worry about that. But if you get invited to like an event at a bookstore or something like that, go to the event. Now, is that their inner circle? No, the event at the bookstore is not their inner circle, but it's an event at a queer bookstore or something, and you're going to see a book reading. I would go to the event and just attend and just see what's going on. And it's another kind of like step that you can take if you want to keep going undercover with them. But the chances of you getting invited to their inner circle because someone met you at the No Kings protest, that's pretty minor. I mean, I would say pretty much insignificant. And so I really wouldn't worry about that, but it's a good question. Can you take a bike to the protest? Yeah, a lot of them will be riding bikes, but you're probably going to have to tie it up somewhere or something. But yeah, you can totally take a bike to the protest if you want to. James says, if we have to make a Discord account, should we use our the username different from our Twitter name? Um I think it can be the same as your Twitter name. I wouldn't use your real name necessarily, with rare exception. I wouldn't necessarily use your real name unless you want to. I think that your Twitter name for the Discord name is fine, though. I think that's a good question. Q from an anonymous friend of ours. I'm considering crossing the border to attend this. I would require a burner phone and have to mail zines back home. I can't find anything in Canada. Is it worth the risk? I mean, listen, I don't know why you would require a burner phone to cross the border, so you're gonna have to decide whether it's worth the risk for you. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't know what risk there would be coming here from Canada to go to a protest. And so I guess I don't really understand the question necessarily. But I think that if you want to go and you can go and it's a reasonable travel distance, like if you're going out of your way, I wouldn't get on a flight to go and do this stuff. If you're not near a protest, then you're not near a protest, and that's the way it goes. And maybe you can help us in other ways later, like by reading the zines, sorting through the zines, stuff like that. That would be really helpful. So there are other ways. If you're not near a protest, there are other ways that you can help out that are not getting on a plane to go somewhere. If you have to take a really long car ride, I mean, maybe you want to do that. I don't know. It's really up to you. But I guess I probably wouldn't get on a plane for this. Would be my opinion. I mean, obviously I've gotten on a plane to do stuff before, but I think this is a little bit different than someone kind of I want this to be a low commitment for people. Like, part of the point of doing it this way is like so many people are going to be close to a No Kings protest that, like, I think it's pretty low commitment to do. And that's part of the point of it. And if you can't do it this time because there's nothing near you, there's always other ways you can help out, and there's always the future, and that's cool too. Reagan says, this is simple, but can you make sure to touch on how to be well rested, eat well beforehand, stay hydrated? Yeah, I mean, definitely bring some water. Make sure you have access to water. You might be on your feet a lot. This is a great point. You might be on your feet a lot. Wear comfortable shoes. This is not the day to break in new shoes. Wear comfortable shoes. Wear clothes that you feel comfortable in. And again, in addition to being like plain and normal, make sure you are comfortable. The more comfortable you are, the more comfortable you're going to be able to present yourself. You shouldn't need to worry about how you look. If you are focused on how you look, that's probably going to take your attention away from understanding what is going on around you. And so, do all the basic things you would do if you were going to an all day event in the park. What would you do if you were going to an all-day event in the park? Well, if you need to get up early, you're gonna go to bed early the night before. You're not gonna get drunk, so you're not hungover the next day, because that would suck. You're gonna make sure you've had something to eat, you've had your coffee, you've had your Wheaties, whatever you need to do. Like, you're gonna do anything that you would do if you were going to an event, but just know that you might be on your feet a lot, you might be walking around a lot. Dress in layers. I don't know what the weather's going to be like where everyone is, but dress in layers that you can take off or put on or things like that. It's just kind of like basic common sense stuff of going to an outdoor event, because most of these are going to be an outdoor event, and just be prepared to walk around. And if you need to stop because you're tired or something like that, that's totally okay. Typically, at a lot of these events that I go to, I try to get in and get as much propaganda collected as I possibly can, as quickly as I can. So the very first thing I'm doing when I'm going to events like this is I'm going right to the propaganda tables. I'm collecting as much stuff as I can. I'm making the rounds as quickly, but also making sure I'm being thorough and I'm talking to people and I'm not like rushing, but I'm like going through like a normal pace. But I do that first so that if I need to leave at any point, like if something happens, or maybe I just don't feel like being on my feet anymore, or like the protest is dying down, I already have all the propaganda collected, so that if I need to get out and leave, I don't need to go back. I already have, like, the propaganda is really the most important things. The zines, the flyers, the pamphlets, collecting. Hang on, I'll go back to the slide so you guys can see. Let me go back to the slide. Like, getting as many zines as possible, getting as many flyers, pamphlets. There are probably going to be groups handing out newspapers. The Revolutionary Communists of America hand out newspapers. There'll be Maoist groups running around handing out newspapers. Collect as much of that stuff as you can, as early on as you can. Get it in your bag. Make sure your bag's comfortable to wear. You can carry a lot of stuff in it. And once you have that done, then you can stay at the event for as long as you want, or you can leave, or whatever. All right, let me see. What's the best way to find a protest? That is a great question. The best way to find a protest is da 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 da. To go to nokings.org, nokings.org, and find their map. And I think I just pushed that in the Q&A tab. I'll do that in the chat. Nokings.org, and go to their map and find the best protest near you. And if you have some options for, like, you're like, I don't know if I should go to this protest or that protest. Again, you can just email at you can email at intel@leftwingstudies.com, and you can say, Carlin, I'm in this area. There's this event. Which one do you think I should go to? If you have questions, I will totally help you pick out an event to go to. But again, we're going to try to target the bigger events. And so that is what I would do, is I would basically look for the biggest city, ideally city event near you. And I would go to that one. I think the one I'm going to is structured like a march. Tips on finding propaganda tables. Head to the march first or find the end of the march. Yeah, that's actually a great question. So basically, what happens when they do a march is you're probably going to meet somewhere like a staging location. I would try to get there early just to walk around and see what's going on. Another thing you can do is that something that I found successful, particularly in leftist cities, is if you get there really early and there's no one there, guess what's probably around you? Coffee shops or bookstores or other leftist stores. I would also just do a quick walk around the area and see if I can find like a leftist coffee shop or something. And sometimes when you find a leftist coffee shop, they're going to have zines, or they're going to have like event flyers. If you find like a leftist bookstore that's in the area, they're going to have event flyers for stuff that's going on. So it can be like a really good opportunity to, like, I always get there early to make sure I know what's going on. And then if I need to sit in a coffee shop for a little while and have some coffee while I'm waiting for the damn protest to start, I can do that. That would also probably be where many people are going to set up. If there are tables, they would probably be at the beginning of the march, unless the march, it could be something where like the march is going to a planned rally. So you're meeting in one location, and the plan is to march from that location to like a big park or something where there's going to be a huge rally. I think that's actually what's happening at the one I'm going to, is there's going to be a march, and then at the end of the march there's going to be a rally. In that case, most people are probably going to be set up at the end, because that's going to be the big rally kind of like staging area for where all of the major stuff is going to go on, but they're going to do the march first towards there. And I would try to go to both. Honestly, if you can go to both, if you can have like the experience of the entire day, I think that that is generally better. And the more you guys can stay there, the better it's going to be. So, with that, has everyone emailed intel@leftwingstudies.com and you guys have told me where you are? That is the next step, guys. And again, I saved this till the end of the presentation for a reason. The next step, if you guys are like, I'm in, I want to do it, I'm ready to go. Whether you're watching the presentation live or you're watching on the recording, your next step right now is to email intel@leftwingstudies.com and to tell me where you are in the country so I can start to map out. Here are the people that we have. I'm obviously not going to put your names next to things, but here are the locations all over the country that we have people that are going to be going undercover at the No Kings protest. Do we use the fake email address to contact you? You can use the real email address or the fake email address or another. It doesn't really matter which one you use, honestly. If you guys end up signing up for mailing lists with that fake email address, you can always forward stuff to me from that email address. So like if you end up signing up for like webinars or things from that email address, you can always forward things to me in the future, not just now. So that'll be a great email address. So if you tell me your fake name, I'm not going to reveal it. If you tell me your real name, I'm not going to reveal it. It's really just up to you guys which one you want to use, and you could use either. And if you tell me your fake name by forwarding me stuff, obviously that would be, I'm always looking for people to send me stuff. So that would be amazing. All right. All right. Any other questions? So probably check social media stuff for their destination and plan. Yes, there will probably be local No Kings groups all over the country that are posting explicitly about what their plans are. And make sure you're checking out the social media. That's a great idea. Make sure you're checking out the social media of the local accounts so that you know what the plan is. All right, guys. Do we have any other questions for today, or are we ready to wrap it up? Well, again, I'm Carlin Borisenko. I am the founder of Decode the Left, and I am the executive director of the Center for Left Wing Studies. We are doing this little endeavor through the Center for Left Wing Studies to make this publicly available to the masses and to help map out the modern activist left. If you want to support the work I'm doing, you can support it on Substack, on Decode the Left, or on Left Wing Studies, whichever floats your boat. And I really do appreciate everyone who funds my work. I am 100% independently funded to do this. And I want to thank everyone who's thinking about taking their time out next Saturday to volunteer to help get this information. Teamwork makes the dream work, guys. We are creating a map of intelligence that literally no one else has. You can always contact me through those websites. And I really look forward to working with you guys and seeing what you come up with. I think it's going to be awesome. And I think the amount of information that we're going to be able to put together, if this goes like I think it's going to, is going to be immensely helpful in terms of understanding the current far left ecosystem and what we can expect to see for the rest of the year. And it's really awesome that you guys are all willing to do this. And again, I want to emphasize this. This is a fun thing to do. Yes, we have to take precautions. Yes, we have to make sure we're staying safe. Yes, I have to lecture you about not proselytizing about Jesus or provoking a fight. Yes, we all have to do those things. However, going undercover was fun. It's something you don't do every day. It's something that's like a unique experience. And I want people to go and enjoy it. And I want people to feel like we are actually doing something productive for once. Most people just post online pontifications about, I would do this, that, or the other. You guys are actually going to go out and do something. You're going to go directly in to the belly of the beast, and you're going to exist in their environment, and you're going to collect their propaganda, and we are going to study them as the animals that they are, as though they are in the zoo and we are the zookeepers. We are studying their subculture, and it is a cool thing, and it's a fun thing, and it should be fun. And I think that you guys are really going to enjoy it, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about how it goes. And so send the email when you're ready to go. Send the email to at leftwingstudies.com. Tell me where you're going, and I will invite you to the Center for Left Wing Studies Discord, and we will go from there. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you have any other questions, do let me know, and I will see you guys next time.